Fabulous. So, dear friends, I'm lucky enough to have my dear brother Dean Donalds here with me today. Um, and yeah, deep. We have all of the elements of love between myself and Dean. Yeah, compassion, joy, equanimity, and kindness, and all these beautiful attributes, trust and respect. And so I'm really delighted to be able to have this little time with you, Dean. And I just wanted to, yeah, we just all kind of sharing a little bit about how we came on this journey into mindfulness, and then into leadership. So I'm going to hand over to you to share your beautiful journey and story into how you got to this moment in time from your. And we've got to try and do this in 15 minutes. I mean, that's a little bit insane.
Ah, thank you, Ian. Hello, dear friends. Even though I can't see you, and this isn't going to be in real time, um, Ian and I get on well because we both are council estate lads that have had some fun arriving where we've arrived. So before Ian put on the record, I just asked him, to come in if I'm not if I'm not capturing the things he knows that I can capture. So there might be a bit of dialogue, even in this like 10-15 minute section on my little journey towards getting. Okay, okay. I was having a major argument with my wife. Um, we're still together, by the way. Ruby wedding in June. Yeah, 40 years for those of you that don't know what 40 years. Yeah, cheers. So there we are. There we are in our 30s, having a right go at each other, having a right go. And I'm West Indian, as you can tell, working class, as you've picked up in this first minute. And so is my wife, West Indian, and ferocious. I love her. Ferocious. So we're having a right go. And just verbally, just verbally. If it had been physical, I wouldn't have been here. Yeah, I wouldn't have stood a chance. Um, um, and I look down, and there's my 2, 3 year old daughter looking up at us. And I knew then, didn't even know, in my head, I said, this can't go on. I need to stop. I need to stop. Uh, so I did. Not that particular argument, because I'm stubborn. But we stopped. And I had a friend who was a solicitor having exactly the same problem as me now. Just having, and they're together, by the way, as well, 2 children. Um, and she said, Dean, I've been trying this meditation, and it really works. Really works. Try it. So I did. I tried a bit of meditation. I was a butterfly. I went between different traditions, and then found Zoto Zen, where you sit a lot, and it suited me. It suited us, but it wasn't a kind tradition. You sat through your. I'm an ex-squaddy, by the way. I'm ex-soldier, and obviously, because I'm a black lad, I know about pain and fighting, stuff like that. Don't now. I'm in my 60s. I can't even run away. Um, but it suited me at the time. But I realised it wasn't kind. And one of my mates. So bear in mind, I'm not really Buddhist at this time. One of my mates, an engineer by profession, used to come. I used to work from home, even in my 30s. Used to come, drink my beer. Was drinking at the time. We'd talk about football. We'd argue our very narrow views about politics. Then he'd go, he'd leave. And one time he saw me reading this book by a Zen master, peace activist, gardener called Thich Nhat Hanh. And I was reading, it's called The Miracle of Mindfulness. even though I was still practicing in Zoto Zen and practicing with other traditions. And he went after drinking a couple of pints of mine, and came back 5-10 minutes later. He only lived up the road. I used to live in South Manchester in Didsbury. And he said, Dean, I think you will go here. And he handed me an application form to Plum Village in the Dordogne in France, and then wandered off. Um, Not a Buddhist bone in his body, not a spiritual bone in his body, he still tells me. Um, we're still mates. Um, and so a couple of months later, I found myself on a plane to Paris and then on a train down to Bordeaux and visited Plum Village. And as soon as I saw Thich Nhat Hanh, I knew he was my teacher. An American teacher says Thai is a cross between a snail, a cloud, and a piece of heavy machinery. And he didn't even have to speak, even though I'd read a few of his books. I knew he was my teacher because he embodied peace, which I was looking for because I didn't have much of it. And I received the 5 mindfulness trainings, um, a concrete application of the Four Noble Truths, an Eightfold Path, but something that can meet today's challenges in a language that can meet today's challenges. Hence, a number of large organisations are using the 5 mindfulness trainings, including the United Nations, as part of their ethical action. And I received them and never looked back, really. Never looked back. Still together. The truth is in the pudding. I'm still with my wife after 40 years, and my daughter's a happy soul rather than an unhappy soul. If I hadn't have found the peace and the practical application of how you actually instigate peace in your home, in yourself. So you have to get yourself right first, then your family, which I focused on, then a community of resistance. We'll be talking about that in a bit. A sangha, a spiritual, and then in your work, I was a boss of of a local authority department, social services, then a boss of a health authority, and then I set up a couple of companies. Um, so it spread then to my companies, to mindful companies. People saw something in me, I don't know what, um, and I was ordained, and then in 2016 I became teacher. Thai offered us what we call the lamp, which allows me to teach in Thai's name in this tradition. Um, yeah, so that's it. I guess one of the other things I'd like to say is when I first joined the UK tradition in particular, nobody looked like me, nobody spoke like me. Not many do still. Nobody dressed like me. I'm a working class lad. I'm black, and it was very, very middle class, white, middle class educated. I only found education in my 30s. You know, went and got the old MBA like everybody did in those days. Um, yeah, yeah. But now I think because of the likes of Insight Leadership, because of the likes of my dear old mate, who hasn't come in that much, who hasn't spoken that much. I think he wants to keep it to 15 minutes. That's why he hasn't said
I'm
anything.
enjoying. I'm enjoying listening to you, Dean.
Yeah, all right, my dear old friend. Um, yeah, I think now it's attracting more people because we're putting it in people's language that people are seeing people like myself that speak differently, that dress differently, that definitely look differently to the majority of people that first came to this tradition and to Buddhism, which is only about 100 years old in this country anyway, you know. And it was the academics, it was the privilege that brought it here. But now it's here. Of course, we want to share it with everyone, including those from the business and leadership communities. Have I done enough, mate, or have I left stuff out that you'd like me to talk about? Because you know my story.
That's great. That's great, Dean. I don't normally ask. I don't normally ask this, but you got your certificate up there. You would have received a Dharma name. So what back in those days? What year was that? 2006.
No, even older. I'm even older, mate. No. So I practiced Buddhism from the mid 90s, but then found Thai at the turn of the century,
Yeah,
just at the turn of the century, and my lineage name
lineage
was
name.
Clear Acceptance of the Heart. Clear
Clear
Acceptance of the Heart.
acceptance of the heart.
Our lineage goes back to a Chinese or Chan master called Master Lin Chi, 13th century. So it sort of comes from there. It's a Renzai tradition, which means it uses language, which is odd, bearing in mind I like sitting on a cushion. I think had it not been Thai, you wouldn't have seen me here because I do get a lot from just sitting. Um, yeah, and then when I received the 14 mindfulness trainings, the Bodhisattva vows, which a Bodhisattva is somebody that sees the suffering in the world and wants to meet it skillfully with peace, joy, understanding, compassion in their hearts, wants to see it, wants to meet it. So I took the Bodhisattva vows in, blimey, 2007, 14 mindfulness trainings, and my Dharma name uh, is true, ever present peace. True, ever present peace. And the Dharma name is there to, they see the seeds of whatever it is they give you the name of, but they also are saying, getting you to look deeper at that name in order to develop what they're asking you from it. So true, ever present peace. That's the bit I need to work on, as my wife of 40 years will tell you.
I was going to say, to that. So how has that shown up for you? You know, how have you grown into into that that name? Because that always fascinates me because it's given to you by the by the community,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and it fascinates me the how accurate the names are when you see this in almost in years and decades later how they saw these seeds.
Mm.
So how did that show up? How's that showing up for you?
I think before I tell you how it shows up, I have to tell you uh, my ancestry. So I'm West Indian on the whole. I've got a bit of Scottish blood in as well, but on the whole, I'm West Indian. And I'm the child of a Windrush generation. I'm an ex-squaddy, and I went into business. I went and got an MBA and a few other bits of paper, which pushed me towards business. So all of that life before I found Thai is about fighting, pushing through, uh, and at my best when I'm on the cushion or when I come off it, and I go into up until about 6 months ago, I was going into prisons on a regular basis as a chaplain, and I still offer Thai teachings in prisons and work. I work with refugees, asylum seekers still, um, and a few other groups that are not represented well. Um, but I'd always approached the challenges in the world as a fight. I thought I'd learn how to fight, yeah, in not just with these, but with my words, with my actions, and I've taken on academia and jobs where again it was a bit of a fight, and now it ain't. Now it ain't. Now because I've developed some peace in myself, there's definitely peace and happiness and joy in my family. Thank goodness. And now it's spread out a bit to Sangha and to the. I've set up a few social enterprises now, social enterprises. So that's how it's landed. It's landed in a complete transformation from fighting to peace and using skillfulness and compassion and smiling. So I've still got it, of course, and smiling at my anger and my behaviour from 25 years ago, which pops up now and again when I'm tired, when I'm a bit wrecked, when it's a bit too much. It still comes, but now with peace, I smile at it. Oh, that's you. I embrace it. I look after it. I know where it's come from. I know the nutrients that are feeding it. Yeah,
It'd be
that's it,
beautiful.
my old mate. He's good, isn't
Oh,
he? He's good. This
it's amazing.
yeah,
You know, we're both advocates for it. You know, the practice. You know, and I have similar
yeah,
anger issues that I have to try and take care of. And but I'm fascinated to hear about the, you know, the practices that really helped you deal with these stronger, you know, these strong emotions.
yeah, yeah. Thai um, offers ancient wisdom for today's problem, which ancient relevant wisdom and practice to deal with it. It's a really simple practice, difficult to do, but simple in its nature. And when I stop, when I sit on a cushion, when all I do is pause and breathe, follow my breath in and follow my breath out, my body calms and my mind calms, and um, I can recognize any suffering that comes up, anger, jealousy, fear, uh, being seeing myself as an individual rather than interacting, interbeing with other people, and I can see it and I can name it. And because I know it so well now, because I've been doing it for so long, and Ty's taught us, our community of about 3,000 people now around the world that have received the 14 mindfulness trainings, the Bodhisattva vows I mentioned.
Mm.
Um, I see them as old friends, so I don't push them away. I accept them. I accept my fallibilities. I accept the seeds, unwholesome seeds, unhappy seeds, not just from me. They've come, of course, from my ancestors, from my society that I live in. You know, as much as I'm West Indian, I've been brought up in the UK. You know, I'm a capitalist. You know, and I can't avoid that. You know, I can't. You can't say. You can't. I can't say I'm not a capitalist. Okay, I practice entire traditions. Okay, I've got rid of the need to go after profit, and now I go for social engagement with my companies. But I've been brought up. I've got a few qualifications which are capitalist, and this country, until it found Buddhism about 100 years ago, has been capitalist, consumerist, and I'm part of that. So Thai tells us to accept everything, all of it. The clear water, peace, calm, yeah, happiness, joy, having a bit of fun with mates. And he also tells us to accept the muddy water, accept the jealousy, accept the greed, accept things not ever being satisfactory. I must have growth. I must have growth. I must do better. Yeah, so I accept that too. I try to transform it, but the only way I'm going to transform it is if I say, yeah, yeah, this is a part of me too. As like the old, 40 years ago, fisticuffs was part of me too. And I don't beat myself up about it. I don't beat myself up. I embrace it. I know,
Yeah.
I know what it is, what it's like. I know how it feels. And once I accept it, then I can look at the nutrients that are feeding it still. And then when I'm in a quiet space, like Tut tells me to be, Sangha, hanging around with people like you, dear friend, that can smile at the suffering. And is a great teacher too, as well as an interviewer. Yeah, do a bit of hugging and work out how I can
It's
do it.
self-hugging.
Yeah, a bit of self-hugging. Yeah, if I was with Ian now, you wouldn't hear anything from us because we'd be just hugging each other and laughing. You'd get no sense out of us, really. All right, mate. Is that I've gone on, haven't I? But that's good.
Just finally, actually, just on that point, is you know, for all of our, you know, people that are watching this, it's kind of so if for example, you know, your wife says something to you, and you feel the seed of anger come up, what do you do now? What do you do
Oh,
now, Dean?
you're a star. You're an absolute star. All right. So what would I do? So she'll be in about half an hour, complaining that I left the kitchen in a mess. All right. She works in a little school down the road. Um, so she'll be in about half an hour, 40 minutes.
Wrap up in.
Once we've finished this chat, and she don't practice. She don't practice at all. But it's quite funny when I first started, and I used to lose. Obviously, I used to go quick. I had a short fuse, um, and I'd lose my temper. And she'd say, Dean, have you practiced meditation today? It was so funny. Oh, dude, it was so funny. Um, and she's a down to earth, a very down to earth human being. Um, so it comes up, but because I know it so well and I've embraced it and I accept it, I don't try to suppress it. I name it. So this is in the moment. So I'm not talking about sitting on a cushion. So I see it. Okay. So a bit of butterflies in my stomach. I normally tense around the shoulders, and as much as I'm a smiley guy, my cheeks sort of tense a little bit as well. And I've got these eyes that can be very kind or exactly the opposite. Um, and I know it so well. I know my body so well. I know the stories of victim. How dare she say that? I quite cleaned up yesterday. Um, so the voices are coming, and I know it all. But in that moment, all right. So it isn't like 10 minutes. In that moment, I notice it, and I breathe, and I breathe. Yeah. And sometimes I must disclose. Sometimes I do breathe. Sometimes the soles of my feet really help. So going back to the soles of my feet. This is a more of a mindfulness, secular mindfulness idea. Although Thai very much speaks about when you're walking using the soles of the feet. So it is along this tradition, and because I know it's coming, I say nothing. The most important thing for me is to say nothing and work with the myself rather than displacing onto the stimulus, which is my wife saying, "You haven't cleaned up the kitchen." Yeah. So rather than taking that anger and projecting it, I look at that anger within myself and I breathe. And because I've been doing it for so long, that seed of anger is a lot smaller now. So it comes up into my consciousness. I do all the things I've just said, breathe with it, smile with it sometimes because I know myself so well. And then it goes down, yeah, into what we call in this tradition store consciousness. And it goes down a little bit smaller. And if you keep doing it, and sometimes I'm so tired, I'm so tired, I'm forgetful, and it comes up. And it comes up not in big arguments like I told you about when my daughter was looking at us, 30 years ago. It comes up generally in a little snide remark. I can be a little bit sarcastic or irritable. It comes up like that. And it does, just every now and again, it does. But I don't beat myself up about it. Yeah, I'm a fallible human being. This transformation isn't one lifetime, it's generational. Yeah, a lot of this anger comes from my society, my capitalist society, my ancestors who were slaves and had a rough time when they first came to the UK. Yeah, so that anger isn't just mine. I'm trying to change it. And my daughter, my grandson, yeah, will try to change it.
Mm.
Ian will try to change it for me if he sees me going off on one when we're together in a community. Yeah. So it's not just about me. My anger, your irritation, your jealousy, your fear isn't just about you. It's about all of us, specifically our ancestors, specifically our society, specifically your company or organisation, specifically about your spiritual community. There you go. That took more
Wow.
than 5 minutes, didn't it?
Wow.
That one. Oh,
Thank you so much, Dean, and that's why you are one of my such solid teachers. I learned so much from you, Dean, and I really appreciate that time you've taken there. Thank you, dear friend.
thank you. I love you.
I love you too, bro. Keep keep hugging.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it, mate? Is that it? Yeah. Okay.